know what today is? Palm Sunday. Last Palm Sunday, I said nothing about Palm Sunday. I'm not going to do that to you today. I want to read to you a little story. The title of this message is called Unearthing Your Passion. Palm Sunday, Unearthing Your Passion. And so before you were like, oh, here we go. Before you go there on me, I want you just to kind of hear me out and how this ties into Palm Sunday. And so let's read the story found in, I think, 3 or 4 of the Gospels. We're going to read it from the Gospel of Luke, chapter 19. You can put that up there for me, Mr. Don. After Jesus had said this, he went on ahead, going up to Jerusalem. As he approached Bethphage and Bethany at the hill called the Mount of Olives, he sent 2 of his disciples, saying to them, "Go to the village ahead of you, and as you enter it, you'll find a colt tied there, which no one has ever ridden. Untie it and bring it here. If anyone asks you, 'Why are you untying it?' say, 'The Lord needs it.'" First of all, I'm not going to preach this message because nobody can preach the message about the animal that Jesus rode better than my dad did years ago. And I know my Uncle Dave did the same thing. Don't give him credit publicly. That's so unminor of you to give someone else credit. You're letting us down. I know, of all weeks. But this animal was a mistake. It was a mistake. And so what's interesting about this, I'm not going to get into that part of it, but what's interesting about this is you can easily read that sentence and say, and the Lord said, "Go to the village ahead of you. As you enter it, you'll find a colt tied there, which no one has ever ridden." Like this was a special, special animal that no one has ridden. No, the reason no one had ridden it is because it was a mistake. And it could not carry a load, and it could not carry a person. It was not sure-footed or quick in any way, shape, or form. So the reason no one had ridden it is because it was kind of a failure of an animal. How many of you know Jesus will use a mistake? Anybody have any mistakes in their life? Anyone ever feel like a mistake? So I'm not going to preach that message today because I can't do it better than these 2. But that's one thing you can take home with you if you don't hear anything else I say today, that on Palm Sunday, when Jesus began the most important week of his life and ministry leading up to his death, burial, and resurrection, when he started that week, he started on the back of a mistake. He fulfilled the prophetic words for thousands of years leading up to this point on the back of a mistake. So if you're feeling like a mistake this morning, I got news for you. Jesus can use you too. Come on. Jesus can partner with a mistake and change the world. Come on. Say, "Pastor Dan, do you have any problems?" Yeah. Have you made any mistakes? Yeah. Come on. Come on. And God can use me anyways, despite myself. And he can do the same for you. All right, that's not what I'm preaching. If anyone asks you, "Why are you untying it?" say, "The Lord needs it." This is why somebody would ask, "Why are you untying it?" Because it was useless. Not because they were stealing it. It's useless. Right? How cool is that? That God picked something that was basically useless, couldn't carry a load and couldn't be ridden by a person. And he says, if anyone asks you, "What the heck do you want with this animal?" just say, "The Lord's getting ready to do something with it." I don't want to preach this. I've got so much more to say. But the Lord said, if anyone asks you why in the heck you'd want anything to do with him or her. Anyone ever been there before? Why would anyone want anything? You know how many times, you know how useless they are? They've proven over and over. You know how many times that thing has fallen down the hill when we've tried to get it to carry a burden? You know how many times it's tripped and fallen? You know how many people have skinned their knee trying to make that something it wasn't? But I'm telling you right now, when the Lord has need of it, he uses it. And that word use, I like to say partner, because God's not out to use. Some people have use in a negative connotation. God will partner with something that is a mistake to change the world. Come on, he'll ask for you to participate knowing, I don't know how much you have to add to this, but me and you make a good team. Come on, that's good. Amen? They brought it to Jesus, threw their cloaks on the colt, and put Jesus on it. He went along. People spread their cloaks on the road. When he came near the place where the road goes down the Mount of Olives, the whole crowd The disciples began joyfully to praise God in loud voices for all the miracles they had seen. So I want you to picture this. It's a hilly road. And there are moments in this text you'll see where Jesus can kind of see what's ahead and then moments where he can't. Just like you and I when we go up and down hills. If you've ever been, I know in Florida we're kind of messed up with that, but you get up towards Ocala, you start to get a little bit of hills and up towards the middle of the state and of course other states north of us. But you know that when you're going up a hill, you can't see what's in front of you. And so that's what's happening here. When he came near the place where the road goes down the Mount of Olives, the whole crowd of disciples began joyfully to praise God in loud voices for all the miracles they'd seen. Blessed is the King who comes in the name of the Lord, peace in heaven and glory in the highest. Some of the Pharisees in the crowd said to Jesus, Teacher, rebuke your disciples. I tell you, he replied, if they keep quiet, the stones will cry out. Come on. I can't preach that either. I've got too much more to say. As he approached Jerusalem and saw the city, he wept over it. Jesus approaches the city. He gets a glimpse of the city, Jerusalem, and he begins to weep. And it's not a weeping like, yay, I'm seeing Jerusalem. I'm so emotional about it. He has a sadness inside of him as he sees Jerusalem, the great city of Jerusalem. And he begins to weep. And in verse 42, we find out why. And he says, if you, even you, had only known on this day what would bring you peace, but now it is hidden from your eyes. He's saying to the city of Jerusalem and its inhabitants, in the chaos and the confusion of your life and everything that's going on, your eyes are hidden to the moment that is getting ready to happen. You think this is just another Sunday, but what's getting ready to happen in this coming week will change the course of history forever. I'm going to set up today my message on Sunday. It's why you have to be back on Easter Sunday, because that's called In Just a Moment. But I want to start today by telling you right here that God doesn't want you or I to not miss a moment. How many of us can say in this room that we've missed some moments in our lifetime? And we can blame us, we can blame others, we can blame nothing, whatever, but we've missed some moments. I want to teach you, before I teach you next week, the importance of a moment and how God can change history in a moment and is still doing it today. I want to show you how you and I cannot ever miss another moment in time. And so he says, the days will come upon you, your enemies will build an embankment against you and encircle you and hem you on every side. They will dash you to the ground, you and the children within your walls. They will not leave one stone on another, because you did not recognize the time of God's coming to you. There's so many prophetic and symbolic things in here. Essentially what he's saying is, he said, you're kind of stuck in your way of living, your way of life, your way of thinking, your theology, your cultural traditions, and you're missing that something has come that doesn't fit into your cultural traditions. But if you open your eyes to it, history is getting ready to change. And he's weeping because he knows that all of the prophetic, energy or influence that led up to this moment was getting ready to be missed by a whole lot of people because they were too busy with just their daily life. Their daily routines. He says there's going to come a day where you're not even going to notice it. You didn't notice this, and you're not going to notice when your enemies begin to encircle you. Listen to this. They will not have one stone on another because you did not recognize the time of God's coming to you. There is a time and a moment for each and every one of us, and it happens, and there are these things that happen in our lives that we have an opportunity to let them impact and change us, to change our perspective on ourselves, to change our perspective on God. And if we're too busy or stuck in our rut or our traditions, we will miss those moments. Another title of this message is not just unearthing your passion, but I also put pioneering your passion. Because I believe that God's actually calling us today to begin to pioneer our own unique individual passions in life. Now, how does that make sense with what I'm reading? I'm going to show you. The question I have for you today is, sitting here in this seat today, what are you searching for? What are you expecting? Are you hoping to pay just the bills at the end of the week? What are you expecting God to do with your life or for you to do partnering with heaven here on the earth in the next month, in the next year, in the next 5 years? What gets you excited and makes you feel alive? What are you passionate about? I'll say it this way to you. Passion puts you on high alert and makes you focus for what to search for and what to expect in life. I got passionate. I know it doesn't look like it now, but I got passionate about 4 years ago about old straight razors and safety razors. I have of all the razors Gillette ever made, I think I've got like 80% of them. My earliest safety razor goes back to 1908 in the little velvet case. Yes, I would love an older one. Yeah, I will. I will, absolutely. Last time I said this about 2 years ago, people started showing up with stuff and my collection grew. And also old old shaving brushes and mugs and anything having to do with old time shaving. So I'm swanky like that. I'm cool like that. I like the old time shaving. I don't shave with those 15 blade, triple lubricant, has the roller ball and the LED light. No, that's nonsense. If you shave like that, you're not a man. You need something that you can shave with. You can shave with and skin a deer in the same, you know what I mean? Multitasking. When you hear that, ladies, let me tell you this right now. If you're ever invited over to a guy's house and you're dating him and he says, I'm gonna go shave, and you don't hear a strop in there, leave. He's not a man, okay? Leave. So I got into this, and what I noticed is that when I got passionate about this, that I would go places and recognize things that I had never seen before. So I'd go into an antique store and I was like on high alert. Anything that was shaped like, looked like a shaving brush, a straight razor, or a safety razor, double-edged safety razor, I could spot it in a glass case from 50 feet away. Why? Because I was passionate about it. So what I'm passionate about, I'll be looking for. You see where I'm getting ready to tie this in for you? What I'm passionate about, I'm looking for and I'm expecting. If I'm not passionate about anything, life can pass me by. Moments in time can pass me by. Things that could change the course of history can pass me by if I'm not living, currently pursuing what I'm passionate about inside. Every person in this building was designed to be passionate and to pioneer something. People say, well, they're a soldier, he's a soldier, and she's a leader. No, they're both leaders. They're both pioneers. They just haven't had enough people to remind them of the good stuff inside of them to believe it. But every single one of us in this room, we're called to pioneer and to lead. Come on. If you're not a manager on your workplace, you need to be thinking about how to get there. Come on. Getting primed for these moments in time requires the mental and emotional journey of unearthing your passion. And it's a passion that is unique to you. We can literally prepare and prime our hearts and our minds and our emotions for these moments that lie ahead of us by stoking passion inside of us before they ever get here. Come on. Gentlemen, you know what I'm talking about in the room. Some of you guys that are car nuts, and I know there's girls that are car nuts too, but I don't know, something about guys and the way that they deal with cars, it's weird. I've never been a car aficionado, but you know what I'm talking about. You guys will get in a car wreck because a 57 Bel Air just went by you. Right? Right? Don't notice that your spouse cut her hair 4 inches shorter, but you know that those are aftermarket fins on that 57 Bel Air. I don't think that chrome's original, honey. Right? Because what you're passionate about, you're looking for. You see, it's more apparent. You won't miss that car going by. You won't miss that moment because you're passionate about it. In John chapter 4, verse 21, It says, woman, Jesus replied, listen to this. This is the Samaritan woman. Believe me, a time is coming. A time is coming when you will worship the Father neither on this mountain nor in Jerusalem. You Samaritans worship what you do not know. We worship what we do know. For salvation is from the Jews, yet a time is coming and has now come when the true worshipers will worship the Father in spirit and truth, for they are the kind of worshipers the Father seeks. He's saying there's coming a time where the way that you worship or the way that you do things is getting ready to be changed if you're ready for it. I don't know if you know this, but if you read, like I was looking at the English Standard Version, you know how in the Bible they have subtitles? And just without even getting into the text, I was reading subtitles like this. Jesus foretells his death and resurrection. He's telling them there's a moment getting ready to happen. Another one, Jesus again foretells death and resurrection. And then Jesus foretells his death a third time. These are just some of the subtitles. Like, he's like, here's a parable, here's a parable. Let me remind you, I'm going to die, and 3 days later. And then here's a parable, and here's a parable. Let me remind you again. Let me tell you, let me foretell you what's getting ready to come. There's a time that's getting ready to come. Are you aware of it? Are you alert? Do you have your own passion, or are you trying to ride the coattails of somebody else's desires in life? I will tell you this right now. I've had to learn that myself, and it's been an incredible journey of hitting home runs and striking out. Because I followed in the footsteps of a pretty passionate guy over there. And he had his own way of doing things and his own way of relating to people and his own way of speaking and his own, all of the stuff. And it was beautiful, and it was the heritage I was raised in. But I also realized that there's no two people alike. And although you'll see similarities in me, I had to learn to be my own person, to have my own passions, to have my own. We say, yeah, but you're pastoring the church he started. Yeah, but I can't ride the passions that he had. I can be passionate about some of the same things, but I can't live my life trying to fulfill his passion. I got to figure out what makes me tick. And you might have somebody like that in your life that you greatly respect and honor. But I'm telling you, you have to find out what makes you tick. And it's okay for you to serve someone else's passion. It's okay for you to learn to support somebody else and to run with somebody else. But there's coming a day and time where the question will be, well, what are you searching for? What are you looking for? What are you passionate about? And if you don't know what that is, you're going to miss some moments in time that can change the course of history. Does that make sense? Ish. Okay, I got it. I'm going to make it make more sense. Jesus actually was constantly, if you read the New Testament, trying to encourage his disciples to discover or unearth their true passion, because a moment was on the horizon and a moment was coming. Let me show you what happens when somebody has not discovered their own passion yet. We find it in the life of Peter. Because what happens is anyone who is a pioneer, who learns to be passionate about something, to build something, to forge their own way, their own path, to really own their journey of faith and life and relationship or whatever it means. Anyone who does that at some point is going to encounter some rough road and some tough times. Find me somebody who says life has been easy and you have presented me with somebody who has never actually pioneered anything. How many of you have owned your own business? How many of you have been broke in the middle of starting or owning your own business? It is one of the hardest things to do, to forge your own way, to pioneer something, to be passionate about something. You're going to find yourself alone at times. And those are the moments that you'll discover when you're alone, when you're isolated, when it doesn't seem like anybody's going the same direction as you. Those are the moments that you and I will find out if we are actually passionate about something or we're riding the passion of somebody else. It happened to Peter here. Check this out. Luke 22, verse 54. Then they seized him, they led him away, bringing him to the high priest's house, and Peter was following at a distance. When they'd kindled a fire in the middle of the courtyard and sat down together, Peter sat down among them. I love the picture of this because Peter's about to get put in the hot seat. So they start a fire. Like, yeah, you bet. How many of you know that life will start a fire underneath you sometime to figure out what you're made of? Come on. Those are the moments in time where we have an opportunity to do something that will change the course of history. And if you're riding somebody else's passion, y'all, let me tell you from experience, you will mess up every single time. You will fail and fall on your face every single time if you're trying to be somebody else and not be yourself. But if you're being yourself and you've discovered and you're following your own passion in the difficult moments when the heat gets turned up, you will come out tried and true. Amen? So Peter sat down among them. Then a servant girl, seeing him as he sat in the light and looked closely at him and said, hey, this man was with him. Heat's turned up. But he denied it, saying, woman, I don't know him. A little later, someone else saw him and said, aren't you also with him? Peter said, man, I'm not. After an interval of about an hour, still another insisted, saying, certainly this man was also with him, for he too is a Galilean. Peter said, man, I do not know what you're talking about. What was it? What you talking about, Willis? Is that what it is? I wasn't born. I'm too young for that. Okay. He said, man, I don't know what you're talking about. And immediately while he was still speaking, the rooster crowed. Lord turned and looked at Peter, and Peter remembered saying, the Lord said to him, before the rooster crows today, you will deny me 3 times. And he went out and wept bitterly. This is a moment in time where Peter realized, I believe that in his weeping, it's not written in the scriptures, but let's just for a moment go there. I believe in his weeping, Peter realized, I haven't actually discovered what I'm called to be and do. And when the heat got turned up, I turned quick on him. Because I'm going to tell you something. When you know who you are and you've discovered your passion, you don't care what the consequences are. You will forge ahead. And so, yeah, the soldiers might be whipped up and looking for someone to blame. But if you know who you are and what you're called to be, you'll die for it. Peter had no idea at this point. I love this because Peter is, of course, a story of redemption over and over again. Peter was a mess, y'all. Peter was a mess. Peter was a lot like many of us. Peter was a mess. We find in Matthew 16, Jesus comes into the district of Caesarea Philippi. He asks his disciples, who do people say the Son of Man is? And they said, some say John the Baptist, others say Elijah. He said to him, but who do you say I am? And Peter replied, you are the Christ, the Son of the living God. Jesus answered him, blessed are you. He gives him another opportunity. He says, Peter, I want to know that you know exactly who I am. I want you to know beyond a shadow of a doubt that you have figured out what you are passionate about, what you stand for, and what is true inside of you. And Peter says, this is who he is. And then Jesus goes on to say, upon this rock, I will build my church. Peter, the same Peter that's denying Jesus, is the same Peter. This should give you and I hope, because I know every person in this room has made a mistake, or 2, or 3. All right, y'all getting carried away now. This is the guy that Jesus himself said, I will build my church upon you. And to this day, Peter, which is from the Greek word Petra, which means rock. Peter became the rock that the modern church was built on. Same dude, same opportunity. Are you going to identify with this guy or not? One time he's like, And another time he's like, yeah, I'll tell you who you are. I know who you are. You're the Son of the living God. Same guy, same opportunity. One of the moments, he knew what he was passionate about and what he stood for. And one of the moments, he was riding the passion of somebody else. It's why leading up to next week, we've got to begin to develop and decide what we're passionate about in life. You don't have to do it in the next week entirely, but begin to ask yourself the question, who am I? What gets me excited about life? What kind of legacy do I want to leave here on the earth? What am I passionate about? What do I desire to do? What is the impact I want to have on this life? What do I want on my tombstone? I only have a couple more minutes. I want to tell you a couple of quick things, and I'm going to read a note about becoming a pioneer and end with that. A couple of things very quickly. If you have your phones, you can write it out. If not, you can go back and see this message on Facebook. Here's a couple of the ways you can find your passion. Practical things. Expanding your perspective. Not just seeing things through just your lens only. Expanding your perspective. Allowing yourself to see the world and the people around you from a different perspective. Number 2, let your pain become your purpose. Boy, if you're sitting here today and going, I don't know what I'm passionate about, what causes you the most pain? and has caused you the most pain in your life. Chances are it's caused some pain for some other people too. Maybe that can become your purpose, fighting the very thing, the very injustice that may have caused pain in your own life. Number 3, take the pressure off. As you begin to discover your passion in life, don't make your entire household living count on whether or not you can pull off your passion. Take the pressure off. Take the pressure off. Some people go, I'm really excited about this, and they just get rid of a job and all the benefits and everything going. They got a family to take care of. No, start doing something on the side that you're passionate about. See how it goes. Find out if it's something you really want to give and devote your life to. I'm all for taking risks and jumping in full feet, or both feet, but take the pressure off, because your passion can quickly become pain again if it's something that you're depending on too much. Number 4, reconnect to your inner child. Every person in this room, no matter how distorted or messed up your childhood may or may not have been, every person in this room at some point in their childhood had a dream. Go back and talk to that little boy or that little girl. I have a friend that's going through a very intense emotional healing process, and she often, as weird and you might think creepy as it sounds, I don't think it's weird and creepy at all, she will have conversations with the 8-year-old version of her, the 6-year-old version of her, because it resets her mind and emotions back to who she was before people and the world and the enemy came in to try to destroy her and to lie to her. Reconnect with your inner child. Number 5, this is good stuff. Spend time in silence. Some of us, me included, don't know how to shut up. I talk for a living. I've had more quiet time in the last year than I have in my entire life, and I did not like it. And now I do. Because in moments of silence, you can let everything else just block it out. Number 6, surround yourselves with others that are living their passion out. Find people that have learned to successfully live their passion out. And number 7 is this: contribute to something bigger than yourself. Learn to serve someone else's passion and to see what it looks like on the inside before you have to risk it all. And then discover your passion and allow maybe that same person to come and encourage yours. Those are 7 real good practical things to help you discover your passion. Amen? After services today, I'll put this in the comments of the video, and you can go back and find these points so that you can copy, paste them, post them on your whatever you want to post it on, your refrigerator. Let me read this to you. It's 11:02. I got to get you out of here. So stand to your feet with me. Play that music that makes this sound really good when I read it. I'm going to read this to you. It's from a book by a gentleman named David Hayward, who went through a crazy time of kind of rediscovering. He was a pastor that left a church. I'm not setting you up for anything, by the way. But he was a pastor that kind of left the church and kind of the rat race, if you will, that had become his life, to rediscover himself. And he wrote a book about his journey. And this is part of one of the chapters, if you will, or one of the readings that he wrote. I'll read this to you. He said, I'm a pioneer. I separated myself from the mainstream. I left the forest with its community of trees. I must navigate my own spiritual path and blaze my own trail and find my own spiritual home. It's been a while since I escaped. I've been through many traumatic experiences and several small rebellions during my captivity that left me outside of the majority with a firm desire never to return. I don't know how many times I said never again. For the past little while, I've felt like a bad person because of it, a sad and bitter child, a disappointment. I felt like my never agains have been a weakness, a sign of defeat. One day, a different perspective on my story revealed itself to me. I realized that after each traumatic separation from my captors, I've taken some time to recover maybe years, but then I get back in the game. But my return to the game has always been further away from center. Every time I was back in captivity, my captors knew I was even more unbreakable. I would never submit to their control. I was becoming increasingly dangerous. Perhaps these deaths have actually been births. Perhaps my place is far outside the norm. Perhaps because of fear or insecurity or a desire to please, I would never go far voluntarily. So I had to be coaxed by these small deaths and births to arrive where I am now, a pioneer. All our heroes at some point broke away from the norm, the crowd, the established, to become pioneers, to find their own spiritual property, build their own spiritual homes, to become caretakers of their own lives. Sovereign. Others are happy just going along with the flow, upholding the status quo and maintaining institutions. They're happy to live and die in the arms of their inherited beliefs and behaviors, their stable blessing to the world, but not those who have a sense of adventure and harbor within them the urgent necessity to expand their territory and find new ones. That's you, by the way. It has always been dangerous and lonely. It is fraught with threats to life and limb, but this fades in importance to the promise of new life, freedom, and independence. We will always leave the comforts of home to find new life. There are no maps, and the hostiles have not been subdued. We are on our own, but we can read the stories of those who have done the same thing. They have excellent advice. They have wise warnings. They have useful strategies. These will generally help us on our specific journey. But I'm going to be a pioneer. I'll do it alone if I must, but I'd love some company who's with me. I'm going to leave it there for next week. We'll see you Easter Sunday at 10 and 11:15. God bless you guys.